Welcome to another episode of On the Road with the Freeman Diaries with myself, Sarah Freeman, one part of the Freeman trio, the other one being my husband, and the third one being our white, fluffy, lopped-eared, blue-eyed bunny Marshmallow, whose cage is this caravan. He enjoys going hiking, walking, swimming, kayaking, and just being a bunny that lives in a caravan, which is totally unusual, and he's sleeping right now. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the opposite of what I talked about in another podcast. In another podcast episode, I talked about Christians that weren't very caring and weren't very open and weren't very inviting to us doing how Jesus taught us to be. And I want to talk about the exact opposite today. I want to talk about two people in particular that loved on us and that cared for us and gave us a place to stay and welcomed us into their home and cooked us meals and just really enjoyed being around. I have made a video about the two sisters who were from New Zealand that did a very similar thing. They welcomed us into their home, they fed us, we prayed with them and taught them lots of things, and they taught us lots of things as well. But this particular couple is from Renmark in South Australia. So what had happened, it's to do with this caravan that I'm currently sitting in when we brought it. So we saw this caravan advertised online, and we were heading up to Renmark at the time. And it got to late one night, it was bucketing down with rain. We got to a campsite that we thought we could camp out, but it was completely booked out. So we're sitting on the side of the road and it's pouring down with rain. A lady comes over to the door of our car and is like, knock, 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 knock. I open the window. She's like, hello, are you lost? How can I help you? And we're like, we're just looking for somewhere to camp tonight. Do you have any ideas? And then she was like, oh, there is a campground. If you go across on the ferry and turn left and you keep going, you'll end up at a campground and you can sleep there for the night. We said, thank you, very much appreciated. So we're sitting there waiting for the ferry, and Brett goes, hey, Sarah, remember that I saw that caravan online? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, it's in Renmark and we're heading to Renmark. Should we message them? And I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead, message them. So we prayed. We're like, okay, God, if this person replies back, like, before we get to Renmark tonight, because it was only like a 5-minute drive away, 10-minute drive away. If they reply back that we can come and look at the caravan tomorrow, it means that you want us to purchase it. So pretty bold prayer, right? Very bold prayer. So we were sitting there waiting for the ferry to come. Brett sent a message and then boom, straight away back. The guy says, yeah, sure, come over tomorrow. And we're like, okay, looks like we're going to look at a caravan tomorrow. Okay, nice. So we get across and we get to our campsite. We set up for the night. It's bucketing down with rain. I have no idea what time it was, but it was late. We just jumped into bed. We woke up in the morning and headed in to go and see this caravan that I'm currently sitting in. We arrived and we're looking around the caravan and things, and they were telling us a lot about it. It turns out they used to live in it before, obviously before we brought it. They lived in it for a while, so that's how we knew that it must have been livable to be in, because they lived in it and the person beforehand also did the same thing. So it's like, okay, well, cool, this is clearly like a caravan you can live in. So we were just talking and stuff, and then I shared about how we were Christians, and then they were like, oh, we're Christians too. And then I shared about what we were doing, and they were like, oh my goodness, that's so cool, that's so awesome, and everything like that. And it was pretty much from that moment on that they were just welcomed us how Jesus tells you to welcome us. We stayed at their house a couple of times. They fed us dinner, and we had breakfast with them and morning teas and afternoon teas, and spent so much time chatting and being and praying and playing games and watching movies and stuff. They're a bit older than us, but it doesn't matter. And they welcomed us. We didn't have somewhere to stay, so they welcomed us to stay in their driveway because they lived on a big property. They fed us even when we didn't even ask for it. They just said, oh, I'm going to make something for dinner, you can just stay. And that in itself is just obviously we ended up purchasing the caravan, but they did all that stuff before we even. They still fed us, we still prayed with them, we still chatted with them, we still did all of that before we even brought the caravan. And then we brought the caravan, and then they allowed us to stay there, and they helped fit the reversing camera and the rear vision mirror, and I played Scrabble and just had a lot of fun, and they did what Jesus taught them to do and teaches us to do. And yeah, it was just it's such a, you see the smile on you can hear the smile in my voice. I see the smile on my face if you're watching this. that's just what Jesus teaches us to do and how he teaches us to be. That's Marshmallow's little saying, is to treat others how you would like to be treated. You know, they treated us how they would like to be treated. You know, if they were stuck somewhere in a caravan, like, it would be nice if somebody would feed them without any questions asked, and that's what they did, you know. And it was a great few days. So so ultimately what happened was we put in an offer on the caravan, and then we continued on with our journey. And then as we were driving back, we then stopped off, and they accepted the offer. Well, they accepted the offer while we were away, but we stopped and came back and transferred all of the stuff from our old caravan into our new caravan. And then the people in Renmark allowed us to stay at their house that night. And then we drove back to Adelaide and dropped our old caravan off, and we had some family things to do there, some birthday parties and funerals. And then we drove back up again to Renmark and picked up our new caravan, which is this caravan, and then we stayed there again and shared a meal with them. And they allowed us to send packages to their house for us to pick up, which is always a really big thing when you live on the road and don't have a fixed address. Like, you know, it was awesome. Treat others as how you would like to be treated, you know. And I'm going to treat people like that. I've made it, like, that's in my other video. If you have a farm, you have a property, and you're a Christian, welcome people with like, we have water and electricity. We have everything that we need in this caravan. Sometimes we just need a place to park it that's legal, you know. And they did that. So if this story is resonating with you and you're one of those Christians that do that and that follow those commandments of Jesus that he said to the disciples, you know, go out, don't take stuff with you, and like, if people welcome you, stay there. You know, if they don't, do this, you know. If you're doing that, then God bless you, and God bless to those people in Renmark. I won't say their name, but God bless to the people in Renmark that took us in and showed Jesus' love and kindness and hospitality to us. So thank you, and we'll see you for another episode of On the Road with the Freemans. God bless.